Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And this is my second video on this giant printer from Elegoo. This is the Neptune version 2. Apparently there was a version 1. Yeah, this version 2 Max. And this is their biggest extrusion printer. This is quite a massive printer. There are probably bigger printers than this, but I've never had a printer as big as this. This printer has a built volume of 42 centimeters by 42 centimeters by 50 centimeters. Huge! Yeah. So this is also my first Elegoo product. They make printers. Yeah, they also sell filament, but mostly they do printers. And this is an extrusion printer, an FDM printer. They also do resin printers. And in terms of pricing, their cheapest printer is approximately $100. That's a resin printer, which I am interested in. I should get me one of those in as well. Yeah, so and their most expensive printer is approximately $1,000. Also a resin printer. And this printer here falls smack dab in the middle, approximately 500 euros. So it's not a budget printer by that measure. Right, and you have probably already noticed this nice build plate. It's a flexible build plate, magnetic, so you can lift it off and wiggle your print off of this plate. Very, very nice. It has dual lead screws in this structure. It is a direct drive printer, meaning it doesn't have a Bowden tube. It has a filament sensor. It does not have auto leveling. Boo-hoo! Yeah. In this video we're gonna assemble this printer. In the next video I'm gonna show you how to set it up. Get it print ready. Do the bed leveling, for instance. Yeah. So let's get started. Let's get this printer assembled. Here we go.
You serious?
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this printer, Neptune, what? Neptune 3? I thought it was a Neptune 2, but apparently... okay, the Elegoo Neptune 3 Max comes with this manual in English. And cautions, I'll tell you about one major caution with this printer in a second. Machine parameters, basically its specs, a diagram, structure diagram, a packing list, basically what you should have gotten in the packaging to check for you, and then a machine installation, an assembly manual, if you will, which we will actually follow to the letter, and we'll see if we can get to a finished printer that way. Okay, so let's get started. Now, in most of these printers, you will first mount the upper gantry, the upper structure, to your base, the printer base. And let me actually reposition my camera a little bit, like so. And what I'll do is I'll take the base and set it up so that I can reach the holes, these screw holes. Can you actually see that? These screw holes, 2 over here and 2 over here. I want to be able to reach these screw holes from the bottom. Yeah, so I set it up just proud of the table. And will it slide? Yeah, it will slide around a little. Let's push it back a little bit. Okay, yeah, I can still reach those holes. And then I go and set our upper gantry up on the printer. Now, before I do, I want to take out the screws. The printer comes with a bag of mounting hardware, screws. And as you can see, all these bags are nicely labeled, so you can see what's in each bag. So to mount the upper gantry to the base we need HM 5x45 screws, which are HM 5x45 screws, and we get 4 of those. Yeah, so you got exactly what you need apparently, 4, no spare. And these are the longest screws in the packaging. You can't really go wrong, and it makes sense. There will be some strain on these screws. So next thing we need is some actual tools, and we get a bag of tools with this printer, a couple of wrenches, some Allen keys and some screwdrivers. And to get these screws in place we'll need an Allen key, presumably the biggest one. Is that true? That is actually true. So you take the biggest screws and the biggest Allen key for the first job. So let's lift up this upper gantry. It's not enormously heavy. It's okay. And we'll set it in place like so. And will it stay in balanced? No, well, actually, yeah, it will. So you don't need 5 hands for this assembly job. Make sure there's a cable over here for our left gantry motor, stepper motor over here. Be sure to not pinch this wire with the motor or the structure. And there are some cables and connectors over here as well on the other side. Be sure to not pinch those either. Okay, so let's get that screw. The first screw in by hand. Alright, what I'd suggest is not tightening those first bolts in too tightly. First make sure everything is in place. So I'd loosely set in the first 2 screws, then turn the printer around and then the other side, and then tighten everything down. But as you can see, the gantry won't fall off anymore. It's already reasonably well in place. Alright, that was painless. Basically, everything fits well together so far, and I already feel secure in picking the entire printer up from the gantry. If you're new to printers, I've picked up all my previous printers that way. This structure is rigid enough, strong enough, especially once you've fitted the rear braces. Okay, the second step in our manual is installing the base plate or the mounting plate for our control box, our user interface, which will go on the left side over here. And we'll need PM 4x20 screws, 3 pieces, 4x20, PM 4x20 screws, 3. Again, no spare, you get exactly what you need. And those will be screwed in place with a hex key. Let's see, not the biggest hex screw and not the second biggest hex screw. Okay, I definitely don't know what size this looks like. A 2mm hex screw. Okay, so let's take our mounting platform, a magnetic mounting platform for our user interface. Turn the printer around a little bit, and sure enough, it has 3 holes for the screws, and presumably we've got 3 holes over here for those screws as well. So let's see how well that all fits. Alright, hartstikke that fits in place very, very well too. And so far my impressions of this printer, of the assembly of this printer, is that everything feels like a tank. Yeah, this feels much more rigid than it has any business. It'll only hold a console panel, but yeah, you could lift the printer from this. Oh well, let's see what our next step would be. Okay, very simple. We'll mount and install the console panel. No screws required, as this plate is actually magnetic. Flop! Haha! And it has a coiled wire, as you can see, with a old telephone style of connector over here, RG45, which will hook up to the front of the printer. Yay! And that's it. Yeah, alright. That's step step 5 and 4. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and next step will be the installment of our filament holder. And our, filament holder will be step 6 and 7, and then 8 will be hooking up the filament sensor to that. Alright, to mount our filament holder we'll need, as per the manual, PM4 by 18 screws, 2 of them. PM4 by 18 screws, 2. I must say that I'm a little bit disappointed that you then don't get any spare screws at all. And I know a lot of printers come without any spares, but yeah, it is always a nice touch. Can't cost much to include a couple of spares. Okay, and in the upper gantry there are already blind screws over here. Hopefully you can see them, but they're already mounted in the upper rail. So we set up our spool holder above it and then feed in our screw. And obviously you then wind that screw down with your Allen key. Now I would probably set this up so that your filament sensor is exactly in the middle of the gantry. That way the strain on it will be equal from left to right. Will never be bigger on one side of the printer than the other. Is that very important? Probably not hugely, but yeah, that's the way I set it up for ease of mind, and it will probably work just fine. Okay, you can't see this, but getting that blind screw exactly where you need it to be is a little bit finicky. Yeah, I'm not even sure if blind screw is the correct word, but essentially you are sailing blind here. You can't see if that screw is in place or not. But eventually you'll get it in place, and then the next step, as before mentioned, will be installing the filament sensor. So let's see what that's about. The sensor is packaged like so, together with the screws. It needs, well, I say screws, but it's actually screw. And let's see, yeah, I'll go and install that on the left side of our filament holder. There's a press nut on either side, actually. On either side of this filament holder there's a press nut. So if you want to have that filament sensor on the other side, looks like you could do that. Okay, and I'll use the included screw to screw it into that press nut. And let's see, do I have the right Allen key here? No, of course not. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Hartstikke. So there's a wire on the top gantry over here, and it is actually for our filament sensor. Can only go in one way, so we hook that up. And that also kind of partially determines where you want that filament spool to be. Yeah, okay, so like so. You want to position that filament holder so there's no undue strain on this cable, obviously. Now, the next step in the manual, or the assembly manual, is over here. Step doesn't have a step number. No, it doesn't seem to have a step number, but you'll be installing the R-shaped buckle fixing thing with a PM4x8 screw. Now, that looks to be this here, which is a cable guide, a cable holder. And it'll go on the back over here, so I'll turn the printer around for you and for me. Okay, so that R-shaped buckle will be guiding this here cable in place, and that cable goes to, well, the stepper motors over here, which these connectors are for. Is that true? Yeah, that is actually true. And this here connector will go to the print, will move to the print head over here. And okay, so there's a screw hole over here. And it looks like the cable will run behind the lead screw, which is a little bit unusual. Huh, yeah, is that true? Yeah. And okay, let me unpack that R-shaped buckle. An R-shaped buckle, never seen that wording used before. But it's a little plastic clip. Plastic? Yeah, feels like plastic. And it'll run around this braided cabling. And it'll keep it in a roundish shape. From the looks of it, yeah. Okay, now obviously you want to make sure that our gantry can actually move to its highest position. And let's actually run the screw through this R-shaped buckle and see if it actually fixes the cable in place. If there's still play possible in the cabling. Let's see what that is like. I had not expected that this cable would run behind the lead screw, which is obviously something that will move, right? So we wouldn't want wear on this cable, but it actually doesn't even touch the lead screw, because this R-shaped buckle keeps the shape, well, keeps this braided cable in a roundish shape. Might actually work, and it can still move in that buckle. Can the gantry now still move to its highest position? Yeah, I hope you've been able to see that, but the cable actually runs freely through it. Pretty nice. Okay. Yeah, that's always one of the concerns, right? With a moving structure like this, will our cabling be secure? Looks like this should work, actually. All right. That was our R-shaped buckle. Yeah. Now the next step will be installing our braces, our 2 aluminium braces, and those will be installed at the rear of the printer, which is convenient as we are already looking at the rear of our printer here. And we'll need 2, really 2, only 2? Surely we'll need more than 2 screws for that. That's peculiar. Anyway, the manual tells us we'll need... we'll need 2 types of screws. We'll need 2 4x20 screws and 2 5x18 screws. Alright, and they're all in one bag conveniently. So let's lay those out. And from the looks of it, yeah, the biggest of these screws, and it is very apparent which one of these screws is the biggest, right? The biggest ones will go at the bottom and the smaller ones at the top. Just in case you're wondering, it's very clear. Also, it comes with washers, metal washers. Those will go in between the case and the upright and the brace. So I'm gonna show you the installation of one of these. Alright, aluminium brace. These are adjustable, and the printer comes with wrenches to adjust those in case that's needed. I very much hope they are set up to the correct length already. But okay, so you take the shorter one of the screws and you screw it in at the top. So again, you will not use that washer at the top. And let me get another key. Okay, don't immediately wrench it down. Okay, then you take one of the bigger screws and the washer. You run the screw. Am I still in view? You run the screw through the brace, then through the washer, and then screw it into the base of the printer. All right. Actually, I didn't have to do any adjusting, and from the looks of it, I didn't screw the printer by installing this. There's no extra strain on the gantry, on the upper structure. So if you see that you'll have to bend this back or forward while installing these braces, they're too short or too long. Obviously you could use a spirit level to see if your gantry is still true, upright correctly, but so far mine looks to be well set up from the factory. Alright, and the other brace is the same, obviously. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that out of the way, we are done with the screwing. We have no screws left. So mechanically our printer is now ready, but we do have a couple of wires hanging around. So we'll have to hook those up. So let's see what the manual says about that. Well, the manual says in step 6 over here, we will hook up the filament detector switch. We've already done that, right? It's over here. It's already in place. Then we see that we need to hook up the X-axis limit switch, which is over here. Well, actually the switch is over here, and it'll be triggered if the print head moves to this position. This will depress this switch over here, and it'll be hooked up to this wire. So let me actually rotate the printer around a little so you can see that there is a connector over here. So this block over here is where the switch is in, and there are two connectors over here which are well, very clearly different sizes. They are both for the X-axis, but the small one will be for the sensor, and it'll go in one way. Right, the other one is actually for the motor, this motor over here, which will drive the belt that's in this bar, which will in turn move our print head. So this connector will actually be plugged in at the bottom over here, and I can't really show you, but it'll also get in one way. There's one way to plug that in. So, there. Then we move the printer around to the rear to hook up the Z-axis steppers. Yeah, those are the motors that drive these lead screws, which in turn make the gantry go up and down. So we have two of those, two motors for those, and there's a connector over here for the left motor. Will only go in one way, hartstikke, and there's one on the right side as well. There are a couple of more wires over here, but there's one wide big connector which will plug into that stepper motor for the right gantry screw. Okay, let's see. The manual then shows us to plug in two other wires, and it apparently they didn't know what to call those. But yeah, these wires is what they meant. One is for the LED light bar that's on top, and the other one is for probably the sensor. Yeah, the filament sensor. Okay, and there are two loose wires over here. And yeah, you'll instantly see what goes where. There's one 3-strand plug and a 2-strand plug for the LED. And there's only one way that'll go in. So let me see. There's some talk about adjusting things, right? Mostly the bed leveling. We'll get into that in our video about setting this printer up to print. Right, that'll be the next video. But the assembly of this here Elegoo Neptune 3 Max is ready. That's the entire hardware installation. Now the printer actually comes with some extra zip ties. Not really needed from the looks of it, right? You could maybe tuck... Oh, by the way, there's one wire that's not mentioned in the manual. Yeah, okay. So, this way the printer won't do much. This ribbon cable is meant to hook up to the printhead at the top over here. Yeah, it's that plug is basically like an old style of hard disk connector. In case you're familiar with that. And it'll hook up to the top of our print head over here. There are two tabs over here which you will push to either side. Hartstikke. Then this connector has a little tab at the bottom of the back side. And that connector in the print head also has a tab, a counter tab if you will. So you press in that connector. Because of that tab on the connector, it'll only go in one way. And when you press it in, the two tabs on either side will automatically close up. So keeping that connector in place. Then you press the ribbon cable into its strain relief. Yeah, okay, so funny. That's actually not mentioned in the manual, or did I miss it? No, it's suddenly in place over here. Yeah, okay, not rocket science, but they missed that step. Other than that, that's the entire assembly process. And the main purpose of this video is to show you, maybe you are considering this video, right? So the main purpose of this video is obviously if you got this printer to show you how it goes together, or maybe you are considering this printer and wonder if it's hard to set up, complicated to set up. This video should tell you if it is. You tell me in the comment section below, but what did you think? I can tell you now that it goes together well. Everything fits 100%. Basically, I had no issues whatsoever setting this printer up. Now, I am familiar with 3D printers, right? This is my 4th 3D printer I assemble. But yeah, there were no surprises here. So, next video, we'll set this printer up to get it print ready. For now, I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.